Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we're going to talk about the next new moon in Pisces on February 28, a moon that is a sort of preview of the next two eclipses expected for March. And this is because we're talking about that new moon, which is basically the seed, the starting potential that will manifest itself openly in the next full moon, which is going to be a total lunar eclipse. And this means that basically this new moon is going to culminate in an eclipse, right? So with this new moon, we also enter Pisces season, which is the final stage of winter. And in fact, Pisces covers the last third of the season. And among other things, it also represents the last zodiac sign of the year, of course, understood in a Hermetic sense. And this is because the new year, astrologically speaking, begins with Aries. And of course, Pisces is the last zodiac sign. And so this makes it, this moon as the last new moon of the year, basically. So let's take a look at the chart. As always, let's start from what's new in the sky. On February 14, we had Mercury entering Pisces, the zodiac sign of its exile and fall. At least Mercury here in this sign is going to resume the mutual reception with Jupiter, which in turn is in Gemini, the sign of Mercury. So we have a mutual reception because Jupiter is in Mercury's sign and Mercury is in Jupiter's sign, and they are receiving each other in their respective domicile. Then on February 18, we have the ingress of the Sun in Pisces. And finally, one of the most significant variations of the month, on February 24, Mars is going to turn direct again. Mars is still debilitated in Cancer, though, and it is going to leave the sign of his fall only starting from April 18. Now, this moon brings us to the beginning of Lent, scheduled for March 5, a period that, whether followed or not, indicates anyway a time which is very good for undertaking a process of inner purification until Easter, which this year falls on April 20th. Now, this is a new moon, meaning that it represents the beginning of the process of manifestation of the forces of the earth, which gradually increase with the waxing moon up to the full moon. And in this sense, the new moon is a cosmic seed, so it is a good time to sow and to start new things. And this manifestation process, as we mentioned, will culminate with the next full moon in Virgo on March 14, which is going to be a total lunar eclipse and the first eclipse of spring. The other one is taking place on March 29, and it is going to be a new moon, hence, by definition, a solar eclipse. So back to the chart, we can find Sun and Moon here at 9 degrees and 40 minutes Pisces in the starry image of Aquarius down here. This is the cup bearer. Now the luminaries are making a square with Jupiter in Gemini, so you can see this red line connecting them to Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter, who is the ruler of Pisces, so Jupiter is the ruler of this new moon. We also note that the new moon is making a wide trine with Mars in Cancer, so we have the moon making this connection with this green line connecting them, Sun and Moon, to Mars in Cancer, which, as we said, has returned direct. And finally, a stellium, a heap of planets in Pisces, stands out. In fact, we can find basically half of the planets in that zodiac sign. We can find the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune. And on top of that, we also find there the North Lunar Node, which in the chart is in partile conjunction exact to the degree at 28 degrees with Neptune. So we have this super close conjunction between Neptune and the North Node, which is very, very important. We also want to mention the tight trine between Mars and Saturn. So if this trine is quite wide, this other trine between Saturn and Mars is definitely very, very close. So let's now talk about the meanings of the chart, starting as always from the physical signification. Now, from a physical point of view, a new moon in Pisces is all about creative chaos. So a general theme here, that of chaos, that is strengthened by the presence of Neptune in the sign. We certainly get a push towards action here for two reasons. Number one, this is a new moon, which means new beginnings. And number two, the new moon is making a trine with Mars, which, as we know, represents action and the human will. However, this will, it is a will that must deal with chaotic and unexpected issues that suggest at least caution, if not even defense, personal protection, and so on. Now, caution is a signification remarked by the presence of Saturn in the sign, right? Whereas defense is clearly indicated by the trine with Mars in Cancer, who we can picture really as this warrior protecting the castle. Now, we're dealing with a stellium here, and this means that we could witness to that phenomenon that I often mention called enantiodromia, which literally means the escape into the opposite. And in this case, we're talking about the opposite zodiac signs. So we are dealing with too much Pisces energy that are basically going to flee in the opposite zodiac sign of Virgo. Why is that? Because they are too much to handle. Now, Virgo could represent in this case a practical aspect, such as keeping ourselves busy, working to take cover, and literally building up our boundaries. So this could also be a good thing. Now, from a collective standpoint, we have to point out that Neptune is in close conjunction to the North Node, and this is an indication of an initial process of karmic release for humanity that will fully manifest only in March with the eclipses. Anyway, this moon represents an important step of this process because we have the possibility here of testing the waters, also at an international level, in order to understand where the eclipses are going to take us. So you can really, pay close attention to this moon, this lunation, because it is going to culminate with an eclipse, but it is nevertheless going to manifest what this is going to be all about, right? Now, we have a stellium in Pisces, and this means that on an international level, we could deal here with national borders issues, territorial issues, borders that are going to be chaotic, blurred, and undefined in some way. And in this sense, Virgo can also represent an answer to these territorial issues that is going to involve the war industry. Now, why the war industry? Because number one, Virgo is the very zodiac sign of the industry. And number two, because of the trine with Mars, we have this defensive maneuvers. And so combining these two, what we get is, for example, large investments aimed at military defense, which is sadly a trend of these times, right? So moving on, from a psychological perspective, this moon is very, very, very emotional. After all, we have half of the planets in the zodiac sign of mutable water, Pisces. So mutable water means emotions, and mutable means that these emotions are turbulent. They are moving emotions. And in this sense, the square between all these planets in Pisces, but especially Sun and Moon with Jupiter, tends to amplify all these emotions. Now, this also means that we are called to manage them. We're called to manage all these emotions, especially one of them, which is anxiety, I would say. In fact, anxiety can be understood quite often, not always, but quite often as a request from our unconscious of doing something to protect ourselves, as Mars and Virgo are suggesting. So I would definitely pick anxiety as an emotion representing the stellium in Pisces. In addition to that, we want to also pay attention to our mind. Why our mind? Why is that? Because Mercury, the planet of the mind, is here, and it is very debilitated in Pisces, in conjunction with a malefic planet and so on. So this Mercury is not doing great. So on the positive side, Mercury in Pisces can be, nevertheless, a creative mind that can help us thinking outside of the box. So it's not, a complete disaster. However, on the negative side, it is a mind that tends to escape from reality to not deal with real life issues. Now, this escaping reality can become sort of taking refuge, for example, in the world of entertainment. And this is because Jupiter is in Gemini, representing the world of entertainment. And we also have, for example, escaping from reality, working too much, keeping ourselves busy, for example, and this is because of that effect that I mentioned in Virgo, the enantiodromia in Virgo, Virgo being the workaholic of the zodiac, basically. Now, overall, this means that we must take care of both our feeling, water element, and our thinking, this poor Mercury here. Now, in order to do so, we can definitely leverage the spiritual indications of the chart that have to do with the starry image of Aquarius. And this is very interesting and quite beautiful, to be honest, because if we look at this image of the cupbearer, the chart is literally picturing the luminaries, the sun and the moon, together near the flow of water poured by Ganymede, the cupbearer. That's Ganymede, that's the human figure of the constellation in the Greek mythos. So we have this flow of water. We find again, but on a spiritual level, in this picture of the constellation, the request of dealing with these overwhelming emotions. And how can we do it? Now, in astrosophy, Aquarius is the constellation of the cherubim, also called by Steiner the spirits of harmony. And this is an indication to bring this harmony within and harmonize our emotions. And how can we do that? Now, in the opposite constellation of Leo, we have this fleeing of this planet in the opposite direction towards Virgo, and on a star level, we have Leo, right? So we have with Leo the image of the cosmic heart, which shows us the development of the heart, the development of the chakra of the heart. Now, the famous 6 exercises given by Rudolf Steiner are designed precisely to harmonize the heart, to harmonize the soul, so to harmonize our feelings, our emotions. And how do they do it? They put emotions in a balanced relationship with both thinking in the head and willing in the limbs, right? So in a practical sense, the question will be here, where do I exaggerate? Am I feeling too much? Am I thinking too much? Or am I doing too much? So everyone will find their answer, creating an opportunity to work on themselves, of course, in order to balance out, right, their inner world. But of course, you are more than welcome to explore Steiner's 6 exercises because they are definitely foundational, at least from an anthroposophical perspective. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support my work, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights, especially the eclipses. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video.